Wait. We better do blessing. Josh, would you get blessing, please? I've got to help myself.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for bringing each and everyone here today, Lord. We ask that you guide and direct our conversations today, Lord, and I ask us to be a light to each other, Lord, and ask a special blessing on the people of the nation, Lord, and be with our conversations, Lord, and let your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Roll call, please, Shelley.
Yes, sir. Rex Jordan.
Here.
E.O. Smith. Here. Keith Austin. Here. Danny Callison. Here. Julia Coates. Sean Crittenden. Here. Joe Deere. Mike Dobbins. Here. Johnny Kidwell. Here. Darrell Legg. Here. Wes Snowfire. Dora Petskowski. Here. Joshua Sam.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh. Here. Melvina Shotpouch. Condessa Teehee. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of July the 11th meeting. Need approval. Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Moving down to reports, Mr. David Moore, Management Resource.
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Got a little rain we needed. I know a lot of farmers and ranchers are happy, but I know y'all have our report in front of us. Just a little quick brief deal. Our facilities team's in full holiday mode, so you see a lot of hopping going on around here every day. They're excited this year in person, so they're excited about the work they're doing. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer.
Joe Deere.
Yeah, we don't have your report.
You don't?
So can you go print one real quick and come back?
Hey, I got one right here.
I was just making you aware, so
Okay.
FYI.
I will
That's all.
figure out what happened and get it to Gail to get out to you guys.
Okay.
Sorry, I did turn it in.
Oh,
We'll blame it on COVID. It's back, we're wearing masks.
well, the Catoosa, I saw the water meter and all that got moved in the vault and everything.
Yep.
That was done. They switched over with Barnes and them. So that was good.
That was a battle.
Besides that, your tag agency signs are down the road somewhere.
What'd you
They're all
do?
blown down.
Did you get them?
No. Hang them up at the house?
Yeah.
All right,
We'll
there you go.
check
Thank
on
you, Dave.
that. We'll check on it, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Moore. It's good to see you. I wanted to just touch base real quickly after the meeting for a moment, if you wouldn't mind sticking
Yeah.
around for a bit.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Wes.
Hey, David, I know that we had a big month. Is that something that you could be able to address as far as about the $500 stipend that's been given out to our cattle ranchers for hay?
That's not in our department.
Okay,
so
that's what I had kind of
yeah, I
thought. I just
wouldn't have
want to
any
make sure we
details
clarify
for you.
that there.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other
Somebody
questions for
natural.
David? I don't see none. Thanks, David.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Real estate services, Ginger.
Good afternoon. I believe you have a copy of my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Any questions for Ginger? I see none.
Well,
Whoop. EO?
Just a quick observation now. You answered so many questions for me the other day, I may be calling you a lot more.
That's all right. That's
You
what I'm
really
there
helped
for.
out a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nevada?
Ginger, I don't know if this is your department. I still have questions, which Mike probably, working on it too. The Oak Hill School, is that still ongoing? Have you heard, Mike?
We check monthly. We check
Monthly.
monthly on that,
Okay.
and they haven't released it to us yet, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for Ginger? See none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary of Natural Resources and Environmental Programs, Chad Harshall.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I understand my report is not included in the packet today. That was an oversight on my part, and I'll make sure that's forwarded to you by close of business today. In terms of updates from last month with our group, we have a number of items I'd like to touch on. One is tomorrow we anticipate releasing our second annual draw hunt online for public application. So we should see a news release coming out to that effect. We are doing it a little bit different this year based on, kind of doing a pilot program last year. This year, we're going to have 1 youth, 1 elder, 1 veteran, and then 2 open to any Cherokee citizen. We're also not going to limit it by residency of any kind. As you recall, last year, it was limited to folks who had a compact hunting and fishing license, with the exception of 1 at-large event. But this year, we have no compact license, and so there's no reason, as we see it, to be selective to a veteran from Kansas as to a veteran from Oklahoma. So we anticipate there's going to be quite a bit more applications, and we look forward to getting a more diverse group in on all of these different hunts. As far as the work of our wildlife program, this is something that I've paid particular attention to over the last year, especially post the compact issues of December. This last month, we supported an event called the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. It's 24 western states and provinces in Canada, and it's almost like a trade organization where these administrative folks at a government level get together and collaborate on program expansion, best practices for wildlife conservation. And so it was a good opportunity for my wildlife team to go and get other perspectives as we try to expand this program in the coming years. In terms of where our department is at now, we used to have a wildlife department that consisted of 1 person, which was a wildlife coordinator. We now have a department of 5 full-time positions, including a wildlife conservation manager, 2 wildlife conservation technicians, a wildlife conservation planner, and then 1 wildlife conservation intern. And we're looking at maybe trying to pick up a few more interns as the school year progresses. We're also getting more engaged in wildlife management within our reservation boundaries. We recently conducted an electrofish survey at a water body, a small lake that we have in Stillwell. And we're also promoting collaboration with other tribes, trying to get this program more visible and some of the more substantive pieces of it, broader application for the program as it continues to expand. One item I wanted to flag for your attention is the seed bank. We've had an irregular weather pattern recently, hopefully irregular, that we've all experienced here in the past month or two. And so it's taken a pretty substantial hit to our seed bank. We don't know, evaluated the full impact of it, but we do anticipate there's going to be quite a bit less offerings whenever we do our distribution. Always like to give an update on our electric vehicle program. I mentioned to you folks that we had quite a bit of money that we were about to deploy of our Volkswagen settlement. And up to this point, we've completed all planning design for 2 solar canopies, one at the new Veneta Welcome Center and one at the Hard Rock Casino. We've moved into the procurement and preliminary construction phase, so we hope to have that move in pretty full swing by the end of this year. And then we've also moved into procurement in Will Rogers Downs to replace 3 water trucks, a box truck, a dump truck, and hopefully electrify the entirety of their operations. All told, this is about a $4 million investment that we intend to roll out over the next year. So we're all really excited about that, and there's a lot of work that goes into that for my team. There's a lot of technical planning that's required to get that off the ground. One other item I'd like to mention is the Rancher Relief Program. You may have seen in the media, we opened this application last Monday, about a week ago, and the application was open for $1 million for the first 2,000 applicants. We reached that number yesterday afternoon, and we're now in the process of processing those applications so we can get the funds distributed as soon as possible. And so that's kind of the majority of the updates that I have. We have a lot of moving parts and a lot of good folks in my group that keep the ball moving forward. So I'll take any questions
Any questions? Danny?
Mr. Harsher, have you gotten, it's kind of like the clothing vouchers. If we have more farmers, ranchers that apply, is there any thought of whether we're going to try to find more funds for those, or are we just going to leave it at 2,000?
The initial plan is to leave it at 2,000. I would say that, of course, we always evaluate programs as funding permits. In my view, it took almost a week to get 2,000 folks to apply. And in my mind, it seems like maybe we've hit the number, because when you have some of these other programs, the need overnight, you'll have remarkable amounts of applications. So I think the fact that it took a week to get 10,000 folks interested in it, maybe we've hit that sweet spot. But we'll look through that after we process all the applications and have a better understanding of feedback on the program.
One other question. course, being an old environmental science teacher, are we doing anything with the monarchs? I know that they've reached critical deals as far as putting out, of course, no, we always spray for the milkweeds, we don't put it out, but I mean, other than just the fish and the game and the deer, have we got anything going for the ones that aren't huntable, like the hummingbirds, the bees, the different things of that sort?
We don't have any, I mean, we have, in that regard, we do have seed distributions. Whenever we did the Earth Day plant giveaway, we also gave away pollinator seeds to everyone who was interested in having some. We don't have any current on-the-ground projects, but we are looking at potential grant funding down the road to put, like what you referenced, as monarch way stations. There's all kinds of projects that we're looking at, seeing if we can find available funding source for. Thank you. Sir.
Johnny.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Secretary Arshaw, thanks for coming in today. The ranch program, that made a pretty big splash. I mean, even I got a few phone calls on that. I'd ask you, as you look through the program and kind of see how it's working and assess the numbers, I've had at least 2 people call me that own ranch land on the reservation but actually live in the Tulsa area. So if there's any way to include those folks at some point in time, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Victoria.
Yes, thank you. Chad, I just had a couple of comments. One is that I do know that there were some issues with ranchers being able to get the portal to work. So I had some phone calls in that regard, but I believe that they were fixed probably within 24 hours. And then there was the number put out that they could call for help. The other thing I was going to ask you, do these payments go out electronically, as in most of the cases?
I believe so, yes. It's going to be processed in like manner with the other programs that we've rolled out through the Gadoogie portal. And to the point you raised, we did have the call center activated to help manage the call volume that was coming in. And initially, one of the issues was the Schedule F. I mean, part of the program required that you submit documentation that you actually have farm income and expenses that way for the purpose of eliminating fraud, because otherwise there's no other way to tell if a person's actually a rancher or if they're not. And so there was a little bit of confusion on that on the front end, but we were able to reach out to pretty much everyone that called the call center or left messages. We were able to get a hold of those folks and eliminate some of that confusion on the front end, like you mentioned, within 24 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Leo?
Hey, Chad, could you go over those hunts? What was it, the youth, a vet, and what?
We're going to have 1 youth, 1 elder, 1 veteran, and 2 open. So anyone can apply, regardless of age or age, residency, or any other requirement.
It's going to be like last year, same amount each time, or how many going to be able to?
We're going to do 5 antlered and 5 antlerless through random draw for each category.
But you have big interest this year because it went pretty smooth last year.
Absolutely, yeah. It's
No turkey though, right?
no turkey right at this time.
Okay. That's right. Hey, one quick, I probably, on that hay deal, that was a big hit. Everybody really enjoyed everything, but we're, like in Sequoia County, we're gonna miss out on that new USDA program where they was getting so much a calf and everything. Is there any way we can appeal that? Because all that rain comes so hard, it just run off, and it really didn't do that much, and we're still hurting down there. Is there any way, any forms, any way we could go through and try to appeal that? Then look at it again?
I'm not familiar with that program, but I can dig into that a little bit more and get some more of the details. I know there's a lot of programs that are constantly rotating through with the Farm Service Agency and the USDA, and I anticipate that, with some of the funding that's coming down, maybe there'll be more programs expanded in that space. But if you don't mind, maybe we could catch up after and I could get some more details on that program and try to understand it better.
Be great. Thank you.
Wes?
Thank you. Yeah, on the whole $500 stipend thing, Ray Bell's kind of originated with me looking at where our hay subsidies and that kind of things go, inquiring about that. So I'm glad we were able to help it with $500. However, there's still an issue of kind of where to get hay at right now. That was a difficult thing to a lot of our cattle ranchers. Whenever I was getting those phone calls, well, what are we doing for winter? We get $500, but now you see hay inflation on the prices they're going. We used to, back when it was under David Moore, we had each month in our book would have hay baled, hay stored for bison, hay for sale, and bales of hay sold. So we had an account of where all that resource was going to, how much we had in reserve. So that way, whenever we knew we had a surplus, we were selling that off to our citizens. Yes, it was first come, first serve, but some of the requirements to get the $500, like a Schedule F, which you need to have, it also puts a hindrance on people who just have to need hay for a couple of horses. They don't file a Schedule F. So that's where the hay reserve came in. So if we could get an account for how many bales of hay that we've baled thus far, what's our surplus on, how much do we have stored for our bison, basically a report just like what we used to have in our books. This was back from 2021. So that way we know that we have something available there coming for those citizens who can't meet those minimum requirements, because they don't run a big operation. You know, they're running something small, and a big operation that files a Schedule F, you know, $500 might get you 10 bales of hay. That's not really make a big impact, though it's still a good thing. It's just getting back to where that extra resource is that we used to provide to our citizens. What are we going to do moving forward? Can we get that back online and get that going forward? That's what I'd like to see happening, so we know where that resource is at, how much we have available, and if we can bring that back online, I'll have it in my book. If you could get that for us, it would be great.
So there's been some changes in the way that we manage our hay production, and I don't anticipate that the hay sale program is going to come back in the foreseeable future. So back in 2021, this department was reorganized under my family of programs, and one of the changes that we implemented on the land management side is trying to implement best practices for long-term leasing and internal use for, you know, our bison and livestock production. You know, what we found when we took a look at it is, you know, the cost that we would spend to produce or to develop the hay and produce it for sale is cost prohibitive. What we've decided to do is do a better and more comprehensive land management program where we take and we bale the hay that we need, and then we put the other properties that perhaps we don't need into the broader leasing program for individuals to, you know, purchase as they do on an annual basis, you know, the lease properties that we have through real estate services. That enables us to free up staff to go out and do fence improvements on a lot of these different properties, so that way we can increase the lease values over time. The whole idea behind selling hay was to generate revenue for the Natural Resource Department. The long term, you know, we don't just think, you know, year out, and we think a lot longer than that. And we're looking at ways to where we can do long-term generation of our leases over time. And that is where, you know, meeting with my management team, that was the recommendation that we came up with. And so that is what we are currently implementing, is a strategic plan to increase land values for leases and focus more on hay production for our internal uses.
Okay, all right. I definitely get that from a business structure of that department. However, just kind of an objective thing on what you're looking at there, what I'm going to get back from my constituents is going to be, well, that drives up prices to where we can't compete because the land being purchased by Cherokee Nation, we can't afford that, and the lease prices are going to continue going up, so then it prices out everyday citizens that are around here, and it goes more for larger, wealthier people to be able to lease those properties. So there's this kind of balancing act, how much is good for the local citizens that can't afford much, that need to utilize something, versus how much is it better benefiting the government from a financial standpoint. So definitely any kind of that, whenever you have those reviews and analysis, if you could send that over, it would help me be able to articulate that, what they're doing inside of your department back to my citizens would be a help. So, all right, appreciate it, Chair.
Any other questions? Yes.
It's more of a comment. I've had numerous calls on this also. Around where I live, there's a lot of ranchers and there's a lot of people who have a lot of cattle and horses. But, you know, at the same time, you know, we have a pretty big investment in our bison and our cattle. And I understand that we have to take care of what we have too in an efficient way and the most cost-effective way. But like anything else, with hay and things like this, and I've traveled a lot around the countryside, you can't predict every year when you're going to be in this. You just can't. And, you know, if nobody has hay, nobody has hay. I mean, everybody gets one cut, everybody gets one cut. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is where I'm at. It's not like
just because we're Cherokee Nation, we're getting 3 cuts. I mean, we're getting that same cut that everybody else is. The fields aren't growing back because there is no rain. And if they are, they're very short. And there's not going to be a 3rd cut of hay this year like there normally is. So it's not just everybody else. We didn't get the magnitude of hay that we normally would get with good weather. That's just the way it is. We didn't get what we wanted either. So I think we need to keep that in perspective too, is that, you know, if we would have been able to produce more hay and have more than 1 cut, have 3 cuts like maybe normal, we'd be in a position to help more. But the fact of the matter is, here in Oklahoma, we're not getting it, and it ain't going to happen now probably. I haven't talked to anybody who thinks it is going to happen. So, but I do want to say thank you. I mean, I talked to Councilman Jordan, and he was expressing concerns about this program and maybe getting this thing going early on. So, appreciate you guys stepping up and doing what you could. It's a difficult time. Weather has been crazy here. It's heat and no rain, and then you get 2 feet of rain. I mean, I don't know. Things are changing, and maybe in the long term, when we look at how things are going, we can adjust on how we do things. But as of right now, we're in the same boat as everybody else. Am I right? So just keep doing what you're doing.
John?
Chad, I just wanted to kind of brag on the program. You know, that was help, real life help, the $500. You know, I'm not J.R. Hewing or anything, but I do have a lot of, sure enough, you know, farming friends that everybody is having trouble finding hay. What little I need, you know, I'm paying way too much for. So it was a slippery slope, kind of, the 500, because maybe they've got a lot of hay but need diesel. Maybe they, you know, so even though it was a slippery slope, you know, the chief and you guys, you know, offered this 500 to help. And that was a big deal, and I hope it's not unappreciated. You know, the Schedule F, I'm one. You know, I might get targeted on Facebook, but I believe you need a Schedule F. You know, I mean, if you're going to call your, you know, self a farmer or rancher, and you know, my dad grew up, he's got 1 old horse, you know, and he's got some goats, and we've just now started getting some cattle, you know, but I just wanted it not to go unappreciated what you guys did, and just, I think we've all, I know I had a conversation with Chief way back about, you know, the farmers, the hay, the different things, and but you know, sometimes Facebook makes it sound like only one guy had constituents. One guy had conversations, you know, that got this released or done. But collectively, whoever got the credit don't mean jack, really, to me, as long as it gets done. But I want to appreciate who needs to be appreciated and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I'll share that with my staff. I know they've worked. This has been an all-hands-on-deck situation to get this program moving, because it is somewhat unique in the sense that each application has to be screened and processed to make sure it meets the requirements. And I'll share that sentiment with them, and I'm sure they'll appreciate that, sir.
Joe?
2 questions. On your hunts, are you going to do anything for an adult spectrum hunt?
What do you mean by that, sir?
Like somebody on the spectrum do a specialized hunt?
We looked at that, and so we have last year we had 7 hunts, and this year we have 5, and it's because we're trying to find a way to fit an additional programming in. We don't have anything to announce on that at this time, but it is something we're evaluating.
Just put it in your suggestion box. Second thing, GPR unit, do you have an updated one, or are we still using the old one?
I'm not sure exactly. The GPR unit is not something that resides within my programs, as we've discussed. I don't know that there has been any improvement into that equipment or not, but I can find out.
Yeah, just let me know. I've had some requests for people to do mounds and different things, so I always send them to your TIPO office, so.
Well, most of the GPR work we do would be related to Cherokee Nation projects or Cherokee Nation initiatives, so.
Right.
I don't know that we've ever historically opened that up to individual projects.
Yeah, that's why I'm just referring them to you as far as that. Because of the cemeteries of wellness, because they're not going to be Cherokee Nation projects, they're going to be private landowners. now that the boarding schools and all the different cemeteries that they're finding on people's land. And they're on Cherokee Nation Reservation, so I would assume that Cherokee would take care of that as far as the tip-off is concerned. I just don't know if they would have those resources in hand, because I know Willard had the old one, but now that software is updated and new, and now they're requiring a different GPR unit, so that's why I was asking if you had any plans to get something.
Not at this time, but I can elevate that conversation and,
Okay.
with my folks.
All right,
See what they have
thanks.
to say.
Appreciate it, Rex.
Any other questions for Chad? Yo?
Explain to everybody what that spectrum hunt is.
Spectrum hunt, basically, you look at adults over 18 years, the spectrum, you know, you can be high functioning, low functioning. Usually it's a lot towards the high functioning, and what they'll take it out is their caregiver to go. You could be on the autism scale, you could be, there's a different range of being on the spectrum. And they hold them all across different states. If you guys keep up with golf, Ernie Els is a big guy that does those, and he pays for those spectrum hunts in Utah, Montana, and different things like that. And they are a little bit different, but, you know, they are specialized hunts, so, you know, sometimes they will take a marshal out or, you know, a wildlife ranger, somebody that's really good with that, but they'll take their caregiver with the person. So that's why I suggested that. I thought that'd be interesting for some of our Cherokee citizens, since we do have that here. Because it's a little hard if they go on a regular hunt. I get it the same season. So maybe we put 2 or 3 days aside and go with that, so. That's what that is, Counselor. Oh, you just want me to tell them, okay. And if y'all want to know what GPR, it's ground penetrating radar that they use for underground stuff. Use it in bridge work or whatever, so. All right, that answer your question? Okay, buddy. Back to you, Rex.
Mike?
Okay, just real quick, bag limits. Has anything changed? Is it one deer, or is, and if so, in somewhere in the future, can we go one archery, one black powder, one gun? Can we work toward that?
So the same bag limits and season dates that apply, you know, in our region from state regulations also apply here, so.
Okay, good.
I don't know exactly what those numbers are for this year, but it will be the same, and I know that there is an option for black powder, there is an option for muzzle.
Yes.
There is an option for archery, so those same
Awesome.
rules will still apply.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions for Chad? Say none. Thank you, sir. Appreciate
you.
it. Old business none pending, new business none pending. Announcements? Anyone have any announcements? I need one motion. Got a motion second? We are adjourned.